already surpassed 2020's total for the number of migrants crossing the Channel from France. Yesterday, 287 people made the crossing in 12 separate boats, bringing the running total of this year to 8,474. In one case, as you said, Nick, French authorities were filmed escorting a small boat into UK territorial waters, filmed by a film crew before lifeboats were alerted. The scenes in the Channel have been despite big promises from ministers. The Home Secretary, Patrick Patel, who spoke to you in March.
Currently, and I think we should be very upfront about this, we have endless legal challenges, legal appeals, and we are going to bring in changes to that entire system, effectively introducing a one-stop shop so that we cannot get repeat claims from individuals who are refusing to leave the country, but also do much more work with third countries. We get bilateral agreements in place so that we can move people in a much faster way.
Yesterday, the Home Office announced the British taxpayer was giving another £54 million to French authorities to double the number of police officers patrolling the beaches in northern France. This as the government introduced legislation to improve Immigration Minister Chris Philp announced that it said there were no excuses now for the crossings.
France is not a war zone. Belgium is not a war zone, and nor is Germany. These are safe European countries with well-functioning asylum systems. These journeys are dangerous and unnecessary, and pushed to one side those in greatest need, including women and children.
But the Labour MP Paul Blomfield said the legislation was simply playing to the gallery.
There is a consensus that there are problems with the asylum system, and we are all clearly appalled by the desperate journeys we see people taking across the Channel. But this bill doesn't aim to solve the problem of our asylum system, it simply plays to the gallery.
That's Paul Blomfield concluding Theo Oswald's report. We'll get the legal aspect in just a moment from an immigration lawyer, but literally at the front line of this is, of course, our border force. So let's turn to Lucy Morton, who's a spokesperson for the ISU. Now, that's the Union for Borders, Immigration, Customs Staff, and a former Chief Immigration Officer at the UK Border Force. You wake up this morning to the headline that £54 million is finding its way the other side of the Channel. Do you think that's a wise investment? Good morning.
Good morning. It's not the first time that we've paid the French to support some footing measures.
In 300 yards, keep right to continue towards Tuns Lane, A355.
No particular reason to believe that this will have much more. All it does is displace the traffic onto other routes. So if it's not so easy to get into your boat on the beach on top of the Calais townhouse, which of course it isn't anymore, then you simply go along the coast a bit. It's a long coast. There's a lot of options there. Once it's in
Keep right.
water, this will not, no gendarme in France will stop them once they've actually managed to get afloat. It may have a minimal impact. The French say that they stop twice as many as actually make it across. I don't have any independent confirmation of that, but that's the widely accepted figure.
Do you recognise that figure, Lucy, or would you question it?
I don't want to unfairly criticise the French. That is what they say they stop. We don't have any way of verifying that.
Okay. The media gets very excited when in front of its very eyes, in front of a TV crew, we see the French equivalent of the border force ushering a boat to the halfway line, to call it that. In your view, is that like a daily occurrence?
It does happen. It's not quite daily, but it certainly is not infrequent. If the individuals in the lifeboats in the vessel say that they will injure themselves to jump overboard if the French approach, then maritime law requires that they prioritise life at sea and they will not approach. And you do get the fact that they follow them to make certain nobody does fall.
In a quarter of a mile, at the roundabout, take the first exit onto the M4 slip road to London, Heathrow Airport.
Something else at Westminster scandal. You work with men and women. This is their profession. They see this day in, day out, in the middle of summer, in the middle of winter, whatever all weathers. Do you have a solution?
I think the solution we would have found it a decade ago when irregular migration became such a problem. The staff are working in the most appalling conditions, particularly in this heat. The migrants brought into Tech Haven, which is an area of Dover Dock. They're accommodated in tents.
In a quarter of a mile, merge onto M4.
Very limited scope for air conditioning, cooling. We can't offer them hot food. We can't do very much sorting. And
it.
And after this, the 7:16 LBC News headlines, Simon Conway.
France will double the number of patrols along French beaches under a deal with the UK to try to stop the rising number of migrant crossings in the Channel. A new senior police officer will be put in charge of tackling violence against women and girls. And committees from the UK's four parliaments have urged the government to keep the £20 increase in universal credit brought in during the pandemic. And the weather, another very hot day for many, some thunderstorms in the east, a high of 31 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Anne-Marie Walsh in Bethnal Green. It's slow moving on the A107 southbound, that's towards Cambridge Heath Station because of an accident. On the A4 westbound in Knightsbridge, a lane is closed before Brompton Road for emergency repairs. And on the train, southeastern have delays of up to half an hour between Strood and Maidstone West. Severe delays on TfL Rail, that's between Liverpool Street and Shenfield. And on the tubes, minor delays on the Metropolitan line from Harrow on the Hill to Watford and Uxbridge. And minor delays on the District line westbound between Earls Court and Wimbledon.
This is LBC. Sarah Jane could smell something fishy.
Oh, that'll be the clam chowder, our soup of the day.
She was being set up,
Yeah, I know.
and she needed to find out why.
Well, BT set me up. Their experts just came in and installed the Wi-Fi.
Oh, yeah, give me something to work with here, Sarah. Cut the drama with BT's expert setup service. So it's all business, no drama. Search BT Business to find out more. BT, beyond limits.
Call Nick Ferrari now. 0345 6060 973. This is LBC.
Find the credit card you've been looking for. Quick check, won't affect your score. See if it's a yes, no need to guess with an Ocean credit card.
With a credit limit up to £1,500. Check if you're eligible for an Ocean credit card. It only takes a minute. Intelligent Lending Limited is a credit broker. Capital One, the exclusive lender. Representative 39.9% APR variable. No annual fee. Get a credit limit of up to £1,500. Visit ocean.co.uk.
There are some things that only come alive when they move, and you are one of them. So don't stand still. Move forward with a hybrid car, like a sporty Kia Exceed, or one of our award-winning Kia Niros, or a stylish Sportage, or the Urban Stonic. All of these Kia hybrids come with 0% APR, first 2 services free, and 2 years roadside assistance if you order before the end of August. Move forward and go hybrid with Kia today. Kia, movement that inspires. 0% APR available over 24 months with a minimum 20% deposit. Kia Finance.
Many people struggle with loose and missing teeth. Often their dentist has told them nothing can be done. Let the TDC team restore your teeth, your smile, and your confidence with our award-winning Smile in a Day dental implant treatment. Book your consultation today. Visit smileinaday.co.uk.
Sarah's smiling because Jack the florist is open with her favourite flowers again. Jack's smiling because he's back selling flowers again. Robin's smiling because Jack's back at the wholesalers buying flowers again. All along the high street there are smiles on faces because business is looking up again. And if you're looking to upgrade your Varro pickup, now's the time to do it. Take advantage of a £1,000 upgrade saving and 0% APR finance on Ford Acquire. It's 2 promotions in 1, and it runs until the 30th of September. We're with you on this journey. Ford Commercial Vehicles. Search Backbone of Britain.
Model exclusions, deposit restrictions may apply. Request for credit.
At TradePoint, big trade-only savings on bathroom bestsellers, like the Triton Trax 9.5 kilowatt electric shower. Was £139, now just £125. Plus, if you bought a discount, you'll get this on top. For more trade-only bathroom offers, shop in-store or online at tradepoint.co.uk. Offers end 29th of July.
Nick Ferrari and Breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060
7:20, David, I'm talking to you for the first crisis. Let me give you those coronavirus numbers that are due around this time in the morning. We suspended them because we got straight into the English channel, the channel story. The percentage of UK adults who have had their first dose is now at 88%. And the percentage of UK adults who had both doses is at 68.8%. The number of new infections yesterday is 46,558. A year ago, that number was 812. The number of deaths yesterday within 28 days of a positive test, so in some instances these souls died with rather than from the virus, was at 96. That figure last year was at 12. Our thoughts to all of you touched by that. The front page of the newspaper, some reflect coronavirus, most of them go with the story.
2 miles, at junction 3, take the A312 exit to Harrow, Hayes.
We already have a new record for the number of migrant crossings. The British government's response is to pay money to France. Now, Pretty Charles, £54 million to France is the Daily Mail. Similar theme for the Daily Express. Patel pays French £54 million to do their job. The Times spells it out. Migrant crossings into Britain hit new record. Metro gunboat diplomacy, and they highlight the fact that the TV crew watched the French Navy shepherd the boat halfway, with 13 migrants halfway over the line. That's the stories that go with that. Some newspapers go with the battle against coronavirus. This is the eye. 3 weeks for England to avoid new COVID restrictions. This is the possibility, it says, that scientific advisors warn the Prime Minister that they might want to seek and intervene in the first or second week of August if it runs unchecked. And there's the idea of these exemptions. Public service workers and supermarket staff could be exempt if they're pinged. Prime Minister urged to expand exemptions as the front page of the Daily Telegraph. Guardian go with day 3 of their leaked data list, which I don't really think is gaining that much traction in all honesty. The Sun have this extraordinary story of an Everton football player who was falsely named Charles Sets investigations into England star Fabian Delph. This is as one of his teammates, of course, has been suspended pending a full police investigation. That player has not been named, so it's rather unfortunate for Mr. Delph being a victim of social media there. The Daily Mirror highlights the story we've already mentioned, 1 million kids off school. I will look at that later in the show. And lastly, the Daily Star just makes me laugh. They says we've got the £14 million royal book in full from Prince Harry, chapter 1, and it just says me, and then that goes on for about 20 lines, and then the end. It made me smile anyway. David's in Gideon Park. There is no solution, so what should be done next?
Yeah, Nick, I don't think it's a solution. I think Brexit is sealed up fate now. I mean, we're now an outsider country, so I think the French will continue to take the money and pretend to try and help the UK out.
It wasn't different before Brexit, was it?
Yeah, well, you could at least have agreements that they would, we're on the same, we're in the same arena, but now obviously we're an outsider. But what I'm trying to say is that Britain will continue to give the French money, and they'll continue to pretend they'll keep taking the money. But what's in it for them? If you think about it, you've got refugees in there, they all speak English, right? I'm sure the French authorities have already decided which refugees they're prepared to keep, and those that are determined to get to the UK, I think, will always be helped on their way. Put yourself in their shoes.
Absolutely.
Let's say you've got a lot of refugees.
I agree. I'm not going to hang around in downtown Damascus if I think I've got a sporting chance of getting to England.
Yeah, so, I mean, let's say, for example, the refugees come from somewhere else. We're an island, so obviously they're not going to come from anywhere. But let's say they're on shores and wanted to get to...
In a quarter of a mile, at junction 3, take the A312 exit to Harrow, Hayes.
You couldn't really understand them. You needed interpreters to communicate with them, but they were determined to get to Rhodes. I mean, you might keep the English speaking, but you'd help the Brits.
Exit at junction 3.
Well, it depends on the level of accord that you had with the other country, in this instance with France. And while I hear what you say about Brexit, I think a lot of people...
In a quarter of a mile, at Cranford Parkway interchange, take the 3rd exit onto the Parkway, A312.
Depends when it started. Stan in Swansea, Stan. You've got a solution, I understand. Is that right?
Yeah, there's actually, Nick, a number of people with a number of solutions. And it's quite wrong to just wring your hands and say there's nothing we can do. I've got at the moment a petition to Parliament which says process all asylum seekers offshore using the foreign aid budget, and that's petition number 589.
Where would we do that?
Okay, so Sweden has formed a pact with Tunisia. So that could be a starting point.
I don't understand. We take someone makes their way to England all the way from Iraq, and then we fly them to Tunisia.
No. What
Sorry,
happens is
go ahead.
First of all, the previous conversation that you had, he said that they were refugees.
Yeah.
The people that are coming in from France are not refugees.
Well, we don't know. We don't know.
We
don't know, Stan, because...
Oh, come on.
No,
Yeah.
how do you know? How can you tell from a photograph? Good Lord, you're clever. How can you tell whether someone's an asylum seeker or a refugee?
So you're saying that they floated...
No, what I'm saying is... Well, actually, what I'm asking is, are you just... No, Stan, we'll do it how we're currently... We take these people to Tunisia, and that's where they get processed. Is that what you're suggesting?
That's one of the... Well, slightly no. We picked them up in the mid-channel.
Yes.
Using the passenger liners that are currently at in dock.
Okay, and then when they fail...
And then we process them on ship.
On the ferry,
and we take them, once they've failed, to Tunisia.
Exit the roundabout onto the parkway.
Moved off where?
Or anywhere else.
And why is it in Tunisia's interest to allow us to bring tens of thousands of failed...
Continue on the parkway for 1 mile.
Why would they do that?
Because if they don't, we don't give them foreign aid.
I don't know that we give Tunisia that much foreign aid, do we?
Well, we pick a country that we do give foreign aid to, and then we use it as a bargaining tool.
Okay. But if we thought that through fully, I wonder if we want to try the decaf. Maybe tomorrow morning. Stan, thank you for that. It's an idea, as they say, 7:28. Let's pick up on another of the headlines. 1 million children off school. Missing class last week. The pandemic gripping the nation. Of course, sparking chaos in the classrooms. Kevin Courtney is Joint General Secretary of the National Education Union. Just spell one thing out for me if you would. Presumably we are coming to the end of the school year, aren't we? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Yeah, it is. Some schools are finished already. Most schools will have finished by the end of this week, so we are at the end of the school year. But with the simply enormous numbers of children off school last week, 1 million, more than 1 million, and that's because the number of cases of COVID amongst school-aged children is the highest it's been recorded at during the pandemic.
And for your colleagues, professionals in this field, presumably not only is there a sense of frustration over this, there's only indication this is going to get worse when the children return in 6-7 weeks' time.
Well, that's the worry. We, according to the government, children won't be sent home, so the government's going to change its mind on that. But I think teaching professionals, schools feel abandoned by the government, feel abandoned by Gavin Williamson across this whole of this last term, when cases have just been going up and the Secretary of State for Education's been absent from public discourse about it. There are mitigations that should have been put in place to try to control the spread of the virus in schools. He removed mask wearing on May the 17th. And you understand why people want to get rid of masks, etc. You understand that the frustration that it causes.
Yes.
But on May the 17th, we didn't have the Delta variant. Anything like the amount we have now, and now it's ripping through schools. There was a case for him to revisit that decision. He should have...
In a quarter of a mile, at Wagoners Roundabout, take the second exit and stay on the parkway, A312.
Things should have been put in place, and we are worried for September that even if we're not sending kids home, that the virus will just be spreading faster and faster in schools. Some children suffering long COVID, but children having to go home because they do have the virus, even if they're not close contact. Lots of children at home because they are positive with the virus.
Kevin Courtney, your Joint General Secretary of the National Education Union, thank you for your input on that. We are looking at this in more detail later in the show, and also the idea that certain staff, key workers, public service workers, or even public sector workers, I should have said, supermarket workers, could be exempt. This was touched on by the Prime Minister Boris Johnson earlier this week. A very small number.
Exit the roundabout onto the parkway. Continue on A312 for 1.5 miles.
Well, back to the British Grand Prix last Sunday. Sir Lewis Hamilton, of course, triumphed. But in doing so, one of the drivers who races for the Red Bull team was taken off the track, whether rightly or wrongly. I'm not judging all of that. Team boss of Red Bull, Christian Horner.
Lewis has put a wheel up the inside there, and I don't know what he expects the consequence to be. So it's one of the fastest corners in the World Championship.
Surely he's allowed to say that, although in the view of one Labour peer, while he is not being racist, I stress he is not being racist, those comments could fuel racism, and he, Mr. Horner, should regret them. So does that mean no one can criticise Sir Lewis? Is that what we're saying? That's a strange world, isn't it? 7:31, you're listening to Breakfast with me, Nick Ferrario on LBC. The news, Simon Conway.
The UK is to give France another £54 million to increase patrols along the French coastline aimed at stopping migrant crossings in the Channel. The number of people who've made the dangerous journey in small boats this year has passed the total for all of 2020. A 24/7 rape and sexual assault helpline is to be set up as part of a government strategy to better protect women and girls. It'll also include the creation of a new senior police officer to take charge on the issue across England and Wales. Newly released figures show government borrowings stood at £22.8 billion last month. That's down from £28.2 billion a year earlier, but it's still the second highest June borrowing since records began. And the weather, very hot and sunny again for many, with a few thunderstorms in the east during the afternoon, staying cloudier in the far north with some light rain possible, a high of 31 degrees.
LBC. After a hard day's work away from home, you don't want to be worrying about where you're staying or what it'll actually be like. But with Premier Inn, there's no need for uncertainty because we've got over 800 locations, most with parking, a welcoming restaurant serving breakfast through to dinner, and of course a comfy king-size bed for a great night's sleep. Plus, with a choice of flexible rates, if plans change, your booking can too. So you can work away without the worry. Premier Inn. Rest easy. Only available to book at premierinn.com.
Use code SUMMER to save £5 at zingflowers.com. Zing Flowers. Amazing every time.
Hi, I'm Zain, a customer service assistant for TfL. As you return to our network, let me remind you that you can travel safely because we're cleaning regularly with antiviral disinfectant, providing over 1,000 free hand sanitizer stations across the network, and our ventilation systems frequently circulate fresh air on our tubes, trains and buses. Please remember, you must wear a face covering over your nose and mouth at all times, unless you are exempt. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
This is the sound of solicitor Jeremy bossing his invoices with Sage. Take control of invoicing. Boss it. Try for free at sage.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Word in the woods is that 3 little pigs are looking to sell their homes quick. They seem to be in a spot of bother with a big bad wolf called Rick.
Come out, little piggies!
So they spoke to the friendly team at Property Rescue, who can offer a guaranteed sale in as little as 48 hours at a fair price and a cash advance if you need one. Fast forward to living happily ever after. Visit propertyrescue.co.uk. Property Rescue. Fast forward to sold.
There are some things that only come alive when they move, and you are one of them. So don't stand still. Move forward with a hybrid car, like a sporty Kia Exceed, or one of our award-winning Kia Niros, or a stylish Sportage, or the Urban Stonic. All of these Kia hybrids come with 0% APR, first 2 services free, and 2 years roadside assistance if you order before the end of August. Move forward and go hybrid with Kia today. Kia, movement that inspires.
In 300 yards, turn right onto Roslyn Avenue.